Need to Know JBiz edition for May 21st, coming to you from rainy Meadow Mill. I'm JBiz editor Betsy Boyd. I will be here with you every Tuesday at 12:30 through May. Feel free, please, to comment and ask questions in the field below. Today's guest is entrepreneurial poster child, Alan Hirsch. Alan was born in Baltimore. He went to Poly for high school. Then he went to college at Hopkins. He co-founded with Russ Smith the City paper upon graduating and sold it 10 years later. In 1992, he co-founded Donna's with Donna Crivello. He's married to his childhood sweetheart, Diane, and they have 3 amazing children. Please read his memoir, The Authentic Entrepreneur, at jmoreliving.com/jbiz if you want a good read. Alan, thank you for joining me. I have a lot of questions for you, always, but I'll try not to be incredibly invasive and personal. Let's talk about your entrepreneurial spirit. How is it that you found your way to Donna's after City paper? I know that you owned some TCBYs in between the paper and the restaurant. How did you work your way to the restaurant?
I think to a certain extent, life just happened, and I was somewhat opportunistic. When I started the City paper, Russ Smith was really he was the one pushing, and he sort of pulled me in. And
you were undergraduates together, correct?
We were undergraduates,
okay.
But it's when we graduated, he really got it going, and he sort of pulled me in. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, I was always intrigued by the idea, didn't know if it was possible, and he pulled me in. I stopped resisting and said yes, and then dove in with both feet.
Yeah.
With Donna's, after I sold the City paper, I had the idea that I wanted to work for somebody else, but I didn't do any of the things necessary to make that happen. And so I was looking for things to do. I was in the food business a little bit with the TCBY yogurt stores.
Yeah, TCBY was one of my favorite places in high school.
It was a big deal in its day.
Yeah.
And then somebody introduced Donna and me. Mm-hmm. And we had a great dinner, and then nothing happened. And a year later, she had a buyout and said, I'm getting bought out from the Sun, so why don't we try and do something? And I said, sure. And we started out with this very modest idea of a little cafe. And again, went into it, then it got very intense, and it just exploded.
Okay, and when you say exploded, you mean it was succeeding.
It was succeeding way beyond... when we first started it, we would hope it would do $250,000 a year. And I think it did close to $1 million its first year.
Right. So you were just going with the tide. It was
to a certain extent,
doing very well.
I think a little bit riding a wave.
And did you know a lot about food at the time? I know you are a great foodie now, but what were you like
That's a good question.
At that point in your life?
You should know I was a terrible eater as a child.
Yeah.
If any of my family see this.
This makes me feel good about children.
Oh, yeah. The terrible eater. And my wife likes to think once I started eating, I started making up for lost time. Mm-hmm. So my wife's a psychiatrist, and
I remember that.
Yeah, and she says she's going to write the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Psychiatry and put in he has an eating disorder, otherwise unspecified, which is to say I really like food.
Yeah.
So I had traveled to Europe and to California and really was inspired by food there. So that was really the extent of what I knew.
And could you cook? Did you grow up cooking? Did you grow up watching your mother cook?
I learned a lot from my mother-in-law, but I started getting serious about food after I traveled to California and Europe because it was especially France and Italy.
Okay.
And I tried to recreate some of the food that was there. Mm-hmm. So that was where I saw the business opportunity.
Yeah.
Donna,
because you were bringing a different kind of food to Baltimore, correct? And how is it still different from some other options?
As I wrote in the article, that's a bit of a business issue because when we started Donna's, we were the first restaurant in Baltimore to offer extra virgin olive oil on the table, artisan bread for free with your meals. And now a lot of people do that. So that's the challenge we face going forward. We still... I don't think there's another restaurant that focuses much on vegetables and Mediterranean cuisine in a casual setting as Donna's does. I think we're still unique in that way. People who want to eat healthier we'll look at Donna's.
Yeah, let me just stop you for a moment, Alan,
Sure.
to make a brief announcement. If you're just joining us, this is J Moore's Need to Know, JBiz edition on Facebook Live. I'm editor Betsy Boyd, joined today by Alan Hirsch. Be sure to share, like, and follow at #JBiz. Read more about Jewish entrepreneurs at jmoreliving.com/JBiz. So I love to talk about food, but I do want to get back to the city paper and ask you, was it difficult when that went away? You'd been separate from it for a while, but what sort of emotions came up when we had to say goodbye?
I'd say they were pretty muted. We were, speaking for myself, it was 30 years after I left the city paper.
Yeah.
And, I was really pretty removed from it. So it was wistful a little bit. And when we had our reunion, I really enjoyed that sort of as a wake for the city paper. But, nothing is forever. And
Right.
I realized that. And to have city paper 40 years, it's really successful for most of it. That was success beyond what we could have anticipated.
Yeah. What a wonderful thing,
Thanks.
to have in your life, in your history. Thank you for bringing that to us. Now, if everything must end, how do you feel about your restaurant life? I know that it's still a very active part of your existence, but
Correct.
I also know that you are looking around thinking about what your next move might be.
Well, Donna's used to be a lot bigger. We had a lot more units, and now we have the Donna's in Cross Keys. So I'm thinking, I was involved with the startup of Cosima, but I'm not involved anymore.
Yeah.
So I am thinking about what else I could do, what I'd like to do. But it's been a little bit hard. I haven't been able to really, no light bulbs have gone off. But
Well, it seems like based on your trajectory,
I'm waiting for a light bulb.
You didn't really want to work for anyone. You thought maybe you should, but you didn't want to, and you met people who brought you into things,
Yes,
correct?
that is astute observation.
So perhaps you have to meet someone in the parking lot today who's going to show you the next step.
That's possible. But I also think about what else I'd like to do with Donna's. We're really putting our heads together and see if we can, I can't say make Donna's great again, but renew and revitalize the Donna's in Cross Keys. That's something that we've been talking about and we'd like to get moving on. And that would be exciting.
Oh, yeah.
But I think
I love it as it is. Can you give us
Thanks.
a hint about what the revitalization might involve?
I think the food, we'd stray a little bit more from its Mediterranean roots. That would be one of the things. And I think it would just be making it nicer, improving every aspect that we can, and making it a more polished product.
I see.
That's our thinking at this point.
Well, that sounds fun.
Yep.
Can you give me a wine tip before we wrap this conversation?
You didn't prepare me for that.
Well, I love Chardonnay, but I'm getting a little tired of it.
As most people do.
Yeah, but it's worked well for quite a while now. Is there something else I could
Medicinally
try?
or gustatorily?
Both.
Okay.
It goes with everything. And when my kids are screaming, it's just a nice beverage to have on hand. But is there something a little more sophisticated that I can pair with fish, chicken, that might provide a little more variety for me?
The problem with the wine world is it's infinite in the way that you could say, well, give me a good website to go to on the internet. I mean, it's unlimited.
Sure.
But there are so many great white wine grapes, Sauvignon Blanc being the latest and greatest, but, Verdejo, Riesling. I would say don't get married to a grape. And you shouldn't be looking at wines just at grapes.
Yeah.
I
wish you told me not to marry Chardonnay 20 years ago, but I didn't know you then.
Well, most people know that by your age. You should have figured that out.
Right. I should have, but now I understand. Okay,
Right.
well, I'm going to try. I'll try it. Maybe is Pinot Grigio acceptable?
No.
No?
That's very déclassé. How about Albarino?
Okay.
Very, very exciting.
Yeah.
And there's lots of... We're at Donna's, we're selling the Truth Fumé Blanc, which is a blend of several grapes.
Uh-huh.
And it's made by Gus Calaris, who's a local Baltimorean.
Yeah.
And it's a great wine, and we sell a ton of it. And it's made from several grapes. We just give people a taste of it and say, try it, and they
Right.
love it. So that's the way you should try a lot of wine. You don't have to stick with just one grape.
Yes. Okay.
And you can even try sweet wines. Sweet wines are great.
Maybe that will be the next step.
Okay.
I trust your
good.
taste.
Thank you.
One more announcement now, which is that you can join us here every Tuesday in May. There's one more for your Need to Know JBiz edition. Don't forget to comment, like, share, and follow at #JBiz. Go to jmoreliving.com/JBiz for more Jewish entrepreneur stories. Additionally, go to jmoreliving.com/JBizTix to learn more about our June 13th networking event, which features a panel discussion moderated by Ken Ullman with Jody Berg of MediaWorks Limited, Michael Braunfein of Curio Wellness, Marla Mendelson of Dyewear, and Jay Steinmetz of Barcoding Inc. Join me next Tuesday at 12:30 when I'll talk to Laura Wexler. You know her from The Stoop, but did you know she's writing virtual reality scripts and going to Sundance with those products? That'll be fun.
Wow.
Alan, thank you again. It was a huge pleasure, and I can't. Now I'm hungry. I want to go to Donna's, and I want to get a big glass of sweet wine.
Riesling.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, great.